Kissoon Show. All I'm saying, next time, bring the evidence. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. All I'm saying, next time, bring the evidence. All you do, you come here, corruption. Just here. Next time you come, bring your stuff. I am not talking about that. I'm talking about you in 2024, December, saying there's corruption. Bring it.
Let me ask you this question. I would like to ask the AG to propose legislation for what we call small claims court. There are lots of poor people, for an example you just gave, that they have issues with others and sometimes with large firms, but the lawyer fee is greater than the fee you're claiming.
It is their right.
Yes.
A right, the right that someone has. All our rights exist in context.
What is the context of a second medical opinion?
Because you disrespected the process.
No.
Jesus, this is common sense, man.
Any situation which you seem to do, you're just dealing with Afro-Guyanese issues. If one, you can't bring and pull the leaders of the African community together, you're failing. And if two, you can't put forward a future, a blueprint, and a plan for African Guyanese, you're failing as well.
Hi there, good evening. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. As you can see, we have a new background. Thanks to our operators and technical people. I hope you like it. I of course prefer the alfresco thing, the open air thing. We will continue our shows, our interviews by going in different parts of Guyana. I do like the open air three, the greenery at the back. But this is going to be one of the most important shows since we started this program the past 3 years. June, the third week in June, we completed 3 years. It will never suffice in an hour to discuss what happened with the general and regional election 2025, the results I'm talking about. So we have to do this over and over and over because it is too much there to analyze, to interpret. So in my column, I am going to talk about these results over and over and over using different angles because there is so much to talk about with these elections. So tonight I'm going to start analyzing different parts of the election results that are so complex that they need interpretation, and our viewers need to have these interpretations. But I want to start with something that is fundamental to my life, to my involvement in politics the past 58 years. I am no spring chicken. You look at me, look at my hair, you can see I'm an older guy. And so I've had a wealth of experience. And I want to start tonight with what is inside my heart. You're going to hear my explanations as to why win won, why we may no longer have the PNC as part of our natural landscape. We will have the Botanic Gardens, we will have UG, but we may not have the PNC. And I personally find that sad, and I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm a personal philosophical admirer of Finale, but I hope the PNC stays on and takes its rightful place. I cannot accept win as the opposition, but we're going to look at these interpretations for the next hour, but I want to start with something that is dear to my heart and has been so the past 58 years, 58 years. I am a critic of power. I believe in the philosophical school of anarchism, not the grammatical term anarchist or what. There's a philosophical school named anarchism. It was popularized in the early 20th century by a famous Russian philosopher, Mikhail Bakunin. I believe I have a problem with power because I believe power always slip in the wrong direction and will always slip in the wrong direction. So for my entire life, I've had a problem with power. I, in my later life, discovered Irfan Ali, and I do like him, and I was elated that he got a second term, because in that second term, I said in dozens of columns in the Chronicle, and said so many times here, that man is going to eclipse every other Caribbean leader, including Burnham and J. Gunn. So I want to start with advice to the new government. We're going to have a new government shortly, maybe in days, less than 2 weeks. And this now is my advice to the government based on 58 years of activism, 36 years in journalism, and being an educated man that has studied power. Do not put people to interface with the Guyanese people. Do not put authority in the hands of people who cannot handle it, who do not know how to handle it, and cannot interact with people that are subordinate to them. I hope we're going to have a new government, and some of the ministers, they must have been a 5-year analysis of who went wrong and who, I would think that is natural. After 5 years, the ruling party looks at their performance of their colleagues. I believe when a man climbs up a pole every night and tack up a poster in support of his party in the election campaign, and he hurt his wrist, and he did that for a year. When the government, the ruling party wins, he must be recognized. It's called legitimate expectation. You just can't say thank you. When businessmen give 100 million, ruling parties all over the world just don't say thank you, Nagon. That business person fastens under the government. Likewise, the guy who fell down many times while putting up a poster, he must be rewarded. Rewarded in the unashamed, unapologetic sense of the word, coming from me. So, I believe this government that will be formed should be careful who it empowers. And when I mean by empowers, give power, give authority to. That is very, very, very important. Leonard Craig has arrived. He listened to me now, and I have to say to him publicly, oh God, man, you're always late. Now, I have a feeling some people on this program we may lose in another couple of weeks. James Bond, Leonard Craig, they've gone their own way to serve Guyana. But there he is, looking very dapper. So I will continue. Pardon me? What's that, operator? Yes. The operator just said to me, I must move down a little bit more. I did some shows. I got sidetracked, but I'm coming to that now that Leonard Craig is here. Craig and I did some shows, and I didn't have no problem carrying my bottle. I don't think we should follow North American standard. For example, look how Craig came in while the show was on and sit in. Some shows, wait, you got to take a break, and not the other guests have come. The other guests could just walk in, like how Craig walked in, and look. You saw, for the thousands of people looking at this program, in the Caribbean, in foreign lands, and no. You see anything wrong with Craig walking in here? And other programs, no, you got to take a cut, and then the guests can. What's wrong with my water? Look, I don't want to follow anybody's standards. Look, we must not be plagiaristic or not copy anyway. The important point I was getting, and Craig came in, late man came in and disturbed me. I am asking this government to be careful in the coming days and weeks who it puts in government, who it puts in control of the people of this country. Craig missed that part, but I know it's in Craig's heart that you work for the ruling party in the campaign, you must be rewarded. That's part of Craig's ideology. That is part of my ideology. It's in my head. That man who slept up the Bobby's River for endless nights, alligator biting him, and you won the election, you must show him respect, admiration, and legitimate, and satisfy his legitimate expectation. But do not put your supporters, do not put your heroes, do not put your soldiers, if they cannot be the word is civil, if they cannot be philosophical in their dealings with a nation, and I have seen that. I don't care what people say about me. I will call one name because I've known him for 58 years. That's Clement Rohi. Clement Rohi and I are the same age, and we grew up together in politics and still in politics. Rohi is one of the heroes of the PPP, one of the stalwarts. But I never thought Rohi should be a minister and have the enormous power that was given to him. And over the 3 decades that Rohi has been in power, since 92, I have heard I've had terrible complaints from good people that are dying the world PPP about Rohi's attitude. You can take your supporter and reward them for their hard work in the election, but you don't have to make them the governor of the Bank of Guyana if they cannot relate to people. That doctor, that medical doctor that campaigned for you for 6 months has to be rewarded. But don't put him as head of the hospital if he cannot resist the skirt. The government is going to get into trouble. So I start this program with wishing Orphan Ali and the PPP the best for the next 5 years. I have worked tirelessly, selflessly in the Guyana Chronicle and on the Freddie Kissoon show for Orphan Ali to be elected. I've stood on the Chronicle not weekly, not monthly, every single day, including holiday. I got things to do. I make sure I finish my Chronicle column and I'm batting for Orphan Ali. I came here 3 years and I batted for Orphan Ali. Leonard Craig joined this program late last year and he batted for Orphan Ali. The Freddie Kissoon column and the Freddie Kissoon show were 2 platforms that facilitated knowledge about the goodness of Orphan Ali. And he's got elected. And I say to him from the bosom of my heart, you have a wonderful legacy coming. And as the new government is announced, as the head of the different state agencies, state institutions are selected, do not, to the leadership of the PPP, if you're going to put people there and they fall down, move them. If you find there are people that your own people are complaining about, your own people who love you are talking about them, move them. Because if you don't move them, I believe in 2030, you're going to do an injustice to Anin Nandlal. I hope if I'm alive that I will still have my pen and my voice to campaign for Annie Nandalal in the 2030 elections. But if from the next 5 years we put square peg in round holes, we're going to get into trouble. Whether we like it or not, a new party came on the scene, and maybe unlike any other part of the world, in 2 months, not 3 months, in 2 months got 15 seats. So the future is not promised to any of us, to none of us. So for the next 5 years, I appeal to the ruling party, I appeal to the government. Put people in power. Put people to run this country that will respect the people of Guyana, that will serve the people of Guyana, and if they don't do that, move them. Now, we are going to 9:30, and we're going to have many more of these shows because the analysis of what happened on Monday, September the 1st is too oceanic, too tsunamic to be covered in 1, 2, 5, 6 Freddie Kissoon shows. My chronicle stretching into the coming weeks. My chronicle column is going to be about the interpretation of what happened. We have several dimensions. What happened to the AFC? What happened to the PNC? What happened to the people who left the PNC, the showing? Win. Why did Win pull the wind out of the sail of the PNC? What are the factors that cause Win to win? There are some events in history that have what is called monocausal cause. One cause, mono, Latin meaning one. And there are historical events and social phenomena that have multi-causal explanations. There are several explanations for why Azharuddin got 15 seats and why he devastated the PNC. I will go into that. I wonder if I should take more time since Craig came in late, but I will hand over to Craig. Looking very dapper this evening.
Good evening. Good evening to the viewers.
I think one of the fundamental, seminal, paramount reason that Azharuddin got 15 seats is because of Aubrey Norton. If there wasn't an incompetent, lackluster, unphilosophical, unrealistic, maybe mentally jaded leader like Aubrey Norton, Azharuddin would not have made it the way he did. Norton Norton handed the PNC seats to Irfan Ali. Norton, and the nonsense he did for the past 2 years caused honest African Guyanese, decent African Guyanese, patriotic African Guyanese to say, oh God, we had enough. I can't vote for the PPP, but look what my party has become. I'm running. I want to see any other thing except... I think I want to go on for another 5 minutes because Craig came in late, but the dapper man.
I'm saying again, good evening to the viewers, and I was on another set and I had to run over and it took some time to come. However, I just want to start with some numbers before we go in. The number of registered voters increased by 100,000 thereabout. And yet, less people voted in this election than voted in 2020. Even though 100,000 people, the only party that increased the raw numbers, not the percentage, the raw numbers that they had the last time is the PPP, and they increased by 10,000. Last time they had 233,000. This time they got 243,000. The opposition is down by as much as about 70,000. The opposition outfit. And those things are worthy of contemplation. They were, and as Freddie said, we can't chew into all of that in 2 or 3 or 4 programs. We're gonna have to, in our future programs, we're gonna have to segment a particular topic, stick on it, chew it out, and then visit other issues. Because if we try to go around, we're not gonna end. But since Freddie started the trend about the phenomenon that is win, it is probably the most successful third party in the Caribbean to date. AFC at its first outing with far more credible leaders was only able to manage 6 seats. And here is win based on the calculations from the known figures from the SOPs. It seems like win would have 16 seats and APNU would have only 12 seats. Just imagine 12 seats. AFC
From 31. Oh my.
And that,
wow,
that's,
goodness gracious
that's
me.
a devastation that is itself is worthy of
Could that be the death now? Could that be the end of the PNC?
I wouldn't say so.
I hope not.
I think
not.
PNC is a historically
I hope not.
party, and what you see in these figures though is that a lot of the voters stayed home, because if your voter roll increased by 100,000 and less people vote than voted the last time when you had 100,000 less, it therefore means that there is serious voter apathy. And it seems as though from the numbers, because a lot of these numbers, when you add up win together with the APNU, it still does not reach the figures that they got the last time in 2020. So it seems as though voter apathy was squarely in the PNC. Now you can't even say the opposition, because Win was able to energize a certain section of the opposition, and they came out in large numbers for Win. So the voter apathy is squarely in PNC's avenue. So so because of that, there are supporters that are saying the PNC is so poor in the leadership that I can't vote for them, but I also can't vote for any other party. So for me, if I were in the PNC, that would have signaled some positive for me, that there are people out there that are still for us, that we can appeal to. But it's just that we are in an unfortunate position now. We get our act together, we can appeal back to those people. So if I were in the PNC, that would have been the bright spot for me in these numbers. But you know what that means? What I'm going to say next, a lot of seasoned politicians may not like. But I have to be honest with my analysis. What these numbers mean is that Azruddin Mohammed is the single most popular politician today. Why I say that is because Azruddin Mohammed did not have a party apparatus to run on. Azruddin is Win, is WIN, and WIN is Azruddin. And he, in his first outing, happens to gather 16 seats. There are lots of politicians. For example, if you look at the AFC was running with five former ministers. You had David Patterson, Cathy Hughes, Kemra Jamjitan, Raphael Trotman, and somebody else I'm forgetting. 4 or 5. And it was led by a leading lawyer in Guyana, leading respected lawyer in Guyana. And people chose Azzuddin Mohammed above all of them. And don't forget, APNU had people like Dexter Todd, Darren Wade, Roysdale Ford, and so many other people who are respected, and the electorate chose Azzuddin Mohammed over all of them. So in the opposition, Azzuddin Mohammed is the single most popular candidate existing today. Before I come off that topic though, I want to say it seems as though Forward Guyana Movement and Amanza Walton will be getting a seat. From my calculation, I'm not
That'll be the expense of the PNC.
Yeah, I am not GCOM and all of that, but I'm saying I look at the figures, I calculated the formula, and it is leading me. It's showing me that Forward Guyana should get 1 seat and be in Parliament. And if that bears out in the official numbers, I would be happy. And it shows that it shows a number of things, representation in our democracy. I shared childhood school with Amanza, so I know her since I was a toddler. I know her parents, brothers, sisters, I think, and I would be happy that she had the courage as a woman and even a newcomer to politics as well, to step out there boldly and say, that a system cannot define who I choose to be. And she constantly talk about people expecting her to toe some line, and she's not about that and what have you, and she's assertive and all of that. If this bears out, I think what that represents, Guyanese should like. Right? You don't have to support her, and you don't have to support her movement. You don't have to even support her policies necessarily. But what it represents, I think Guyanese people should respect, even if they don't like it. And for me, I am happy to see that. Of course, I am supporting a party that is opposed to Amanza, and I have to do what I have to do in terms of pointing out whenever Amanza makes mistakes, whenever her policy are not beneficial to the people or whatever. I would have to speak to those issues, and I might be coming up on the opposite side of her several times, and or constantly, or whatever it turned out to be. Be that as it may, that is the practice of politics, but I respect this. And I think it's something Guyanese people should respect as well. It's part of the process. And if Amanza does well, for example, if Amanza goes to Parliament and Amanza does well, Guyana does well as well, right? Because there's nothing Amanza can do to injure the PPP, which I support, right? But if she does well, then Guyana can only benefit from that. So Freddie, do you think Azzuddin himself will go to Parliament and become the leader of the opposition?
I think because of his ego trip in the past year, yes, I think he will go, because he has a thing about the PPP. I can show you all, and so I think he's going to go. Whether he's going to last in there, I don't know. Remember, whether he's going to last on his own volition, that I will continue, or whether he is going to be discontinued because of the American issue. I don't know, but I believe he's going to go to Parliament, be sworn in, because he wants to show the world that all what they said about me, I'm the opposition leader of Guyana. Let's face it, that's a prestigious position. It's recognized by world governments, and world governments interact with the leader of the opposition. All heads of state, when they come here, or heads of governments, it's protocol to meet with the opposition leader. The opposition leader has a chance to promulgate what they believe in, and a chance to express their.
Has it sunk into you, though, Freddie, the amount of power that will be in Aswedin's hand? For example,
he'll be in committees, he'll be in parliamentary committees. They have to take the Public Accounts Committee, the chairmanship.
Yeah.
That goes to the opposition.
I am going even larger powers than that. Will he consent to confirm the Chancellor and Chief Justice? GCOM is a big one.
Yeah, he has to nominate the GCOM.
He has to nominate the commissioners now.
The lady is going to be in the next election, she's going to be nearing 90.
Yeah.
So this is her last rodeo.
I am not just talking about the chairman of the thing. I'm also talking about the commissioners, the three commissioners, which is the opposition leader's prerogative.
Yeah.
So whether he will continue with the ones there, or he will change some of them, or change all of them, it is the power he now has.
He wouldn't continue with the three there. He doesn't know them. He has never interacted with them. He probably don't even know who they are. So his people. I think the two after him, the two persons that will be guiding the ship will be Tabitha Sarabuhali and Dr. Mark France,
and probably Don Hastings.
Right. So they would not want to go with Mark France. Would not want to go with Vincent Alexander. And I think this in fact is Justice Claudia Singh's last rodeo, and Vincent Alexander. Even if Vincent Alexander stayed on, he should not. Yes, the opposition leader has enormous, or because of our constitutional outlay, the opposition, I think, leader has to be consulted with the police commissioners
and certain service commissions as well. And there's so many of them. So there be enormous power in Aswedin Mohammed's hands, and this is really new territory for Guyana. First time a PNC leader is not either president or opposition leader. First time in our in our history of modern election, or since the era of free and fair election.
My goodness, it just goes to show what one person's mistake could do in a country. You know, what we are witnessing in the United States, began with a man named Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was the most despised presidential candidate in the 1980 presidential elections. The American embassy staff was taken hostage. It was going on for months. United States media, United States corporate power, the political society was saying, Iran cannot do this to us. And everyone knew that Carter would have lost. And so Edward Kennedy from the Kennedy clan, that was quite popular, say, listen, step aside, let me take the nomination, because Kennedy would have beaten a political nonentity, a former Great Sea actor named Ronald Reagan. And so anybody who ran against Carter would have won. And Kennedy said to Carter, let me have the nomination. But as the incumbent, he had controlled it. And from 1980, conservative right-wing extremism began to expand under Reagan. and it was only interrupted by Clinton and Obama. But because of Reagan 2-year term and Bush, conservative extremism had already embedded itself in American culture. And I am putting my education on the line by saying, if you didn't have Norton, you would not have had the expansive, penetrating influence of Aswaddin Muhammad. This thing calls for psychological rather than political explanation. It calls for a Freudian examination of the mind of African Guyanese the past 2 years. The kind of African Guyanese we have in Guyana today are not the ones from my age that I grew up in the 70s and 80s. These are young people who go on sport with Portuguese, Amerindian. These are people who work in the oil industry and don't know about who's black man and who is sea man. I'm using the C word, right? Or in context, I can say who's coolie man. And that generation of African Guyanese could not stand what the PNC had become, especially how it had embodied a leader that for them wasn't a leader.
Yeah.
What was he doing there? And then, you know what it is like to have a political party and one of the most beloved pandit, one of the most beloved priests resign and leave you. These pandits, these mulvis that people like to go to the mosque with. One of the top brilliant lawyers who won cases for you, he left as in Rochdale 4. And the exodus went on and people said, what is wrong with our party? Look, the good people are leaving. And then when they switch the page, they see the leader saying, David is a very passionate man. And David is a man that his own daughter rejected. Because being his stepdaughter and listening to him for years, she probably said, man, he don't understand my generation. He doesn't understand the race I come from. So this guy Norton really devastated the PNC.
Yeah, I want to speak on something quickly that is a response to and an explanation to our viewers for something that David Hines said on his program and Henry Jeffrey. Yeah.
Since election?
Yeah. Not since election, but during last week.
Oh, not since Monday.
No. And Henry Jeffrey.
That's unpleasant. So when you say vote for your own, that's
no. On his program, the program he has on video.
Oh, David Hines and Jeffrey on the same program.
No. Henry Jeffrey said it on the platform.
Oh, okay. Vote for your own.
And the concept was this: in the same vote for your own speech, he said, "Why is it that we're discussing this the African vote, the dividing of the African vote?" And not the dividing of the Indian vote, because the Indians don't move and support anybody else. But we discussing the African votes because and all those kinds of things. But that interpretation of both our history and our politics is not true. As long as the voting pattern in Guyana, both for Indians and Africans, have shown, granted with this caveat, that the African has shown to be more mobile, more volatile, more mobile than the East Indians, for example.
More hibernating.
For example, when Walter Rodney came on the scene,
he had
Afro-Guyanese were willing to leave the PNC and follow Rodney. So it shows that Afro-Guyanese can move around. And they have demonstrated that before we saw such demonstration in East Indians. But when the AFC came to being, the first outing of the AFC was Raphael Trotman as leader.
And he got
And
6.
when Raphael Trotman was leader of the AFC, the AFC did not make out such a good case for East Indian votes, because I was there and I saw most of our campaigning was done in Region 4. Most of our campaigning was done in urban area, even in Region 6. Most of our target was in New Amsterdam and the surrounding suburban areas. When you go to Linden and so on. And so the greater appeal was to the African voter. So you got more African votes than East Indian votes, but East Indians did vote. But when it came to 2011, a case was made out. AFC had more time.
I campaigned in that.
AFC had more time now to develop and harness that African vote and then move on to Indians and appeal to them and made out a case. And East Indians responded in large numbers to the AFC. Berbice, which is a stronghold, Region 6, which is a stronghold of the PPP. What happened in Linden with African voters happened in Region 6. Region 6 was turned upside down. And when you look at where the votes came from, you saw that Afro-Guyanese in Region 6 held a line for the PNC. But Indo-Guyanese turned the PPP upside down. So it is not accurate in our history to say East Indians do not respond. Once a case is made out, and I keep
both
saying
ethnic groups will respond.
Both ethnic groups will
respond. But you didn't say what David Hines said. You said what...
No, that is the same thing. I'm saying it's the same thing Hines said. The same message, essentially, maybe not the same words, but it's the same thing. Why are we... Hines is asking... Why we discussing, if you see that we're discussing the breaking up of the African votes and not the East Indians. And I keep saying on this program that Norton and Company has not made out a case for East Indian votes. Even Azruddin Mohammed, being an East Indian man, did not make out a case for East Indian. You saw where Azruddin targeted. He went to all the Afro communities. He made out a case for Amerindians. And it shows that all racial groups, the larger racial groups are Amerindians, Africans, and East Indians. And when you go through our history, our people of all races respond to parties that make out a case for their vote. And Aubrey Norton and the APNU did not. I campaigned alongside APNU in 2015 on the APNU AFC banner, and I saw firsthand that the PNC did not show an interest in Indian votes. They believe that once they harness African votes and whatever little trickle AFC could bring in, that was sufficient for them to win. And even when they went into government, when Granger formed that ministry called Ministry of Social Cohesion, I thought that was a splendid political move, now going to target this other demographic in more targeted ways, that Granger was now about to make out a case, to develop a case year after year, after month, to appeal to the East Indian. I thought that is what this ministry was going to do. But it turned out that the ministry was just lame, it did nothing, and they did not make out a case for the East Indian vote. So how do you expect the East Indian man who already have a party that he believes he is comfortable in, and you have not made out a case, how you expect the man to leave and come? And again, I'm saying, even Azruddin did not make out a case, and so he did not get the votes.
What you're saying there is certainly analytical sound, and that's good political analysis. We have to add to that too. We have to add to that we have to, in our analysis, put something that may be unpalatable to both academics reading it and to the people. How can one person take a historic institution and just single-handedly, people are saying that Trump is going to destroy the United States. But they are serious, formidable, and mountainous bulwarks against Trump. The judiciary is saying you are not going to change this country into the great country that it is. And that judiciary is saying, listen, you the presidency, you got certain amount of power. Listen, we got certain amount of power that you can't touch. We can't touch you in the White House. We can't move you in the White House. Don't come in and think you could move us. There wasn't any movement. You have a man like Granger that served in the army as head of the army, that served as the president. You thought he would say, this man Granger grew up under Burnham, had adulation for Burnham that was expansive, had, I don't know, maybe he still has, 4 foundations in Burnham name. And when he saw the writing on the wall that this guy Norton is wacko, this guy, I thought he'd called with his strategic access that he has in Guyana in the diaspora. He said, let's move this guy. But no, people just left. You thought Amanza Walton, Ganesh Mahipal, Roysdale Ford, Ubraj Narain, and the rest of them would say, let's form something. And maybe we can't fight him inside. We can fight him outside and weaken him. Roysdale Ford came on this program and said, I never see such a Congress in my life. The illegitimacy of that thing. Amanza Walton just took her bag and went out. Ubraj Narain told me so many things that I can't repeat today because I still think I'm a morally sound person. And you thought they would come together and carry the fight to him. You know what Peter Ramsarup, formerly of the PNC, now I think we were on a program with him last time. You know what Peter Ramsarup and Vincent Alexander did, and McAllister? Form a group called Team Alexander and carry the fight to Norton, weaken him. So by the time the election had come around, Corbyn had gone. But they just allowed Norton. The thing that I want to talk about, though, is the psyche of African Guyanese. And I think we have to put David Hines' daughter in the middle of it, because I think she represents the rejection of what these African spokesmen and spokeswomen were doing to the African race. You see, what the young African person thought when they saw David Hines was, this man speaks for us. This is what African Guyanese come to. Don't put your mouth in black people business. Right? Who you guys buy black pudding from an Indian woman? They are all human beings and decent.
And if you take that argument to its logical conclusion, you can't buy curry from black people either.
Right, but do you know what black African Guyanese, you know what the black people must have been saying? If he said don't buy black pudding from Indian people, suppose them Indian organizations react. What can happen to me and my friends? I like Leonard Craig. For the people looking out there, I did something that was suicidal. But I just said, let me try a thing. These people were playing music. I live directly opposite to Movie Town, and the low lives that come there, they turn the speakers to the railway embankment, and this thing was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I drove up there. And when I drove up there, I saw the reaction. They wondering what this old man doing there. This guy, who's this guy? So I drove up there to them, and I was stunned by 2 things. I was stunned by the multiracial crowd. Those people drinking beer, the young Indian girls in a mini skirt and a Afro guy next to her chatting. And the second thing I was stunned at is that I told them there is a 88-year-old woman across the road and you can't do that. But I live across Movie Town, and when you see that thing at 12 o'clock, go across there, Craig. It's not no low-life section of Guyana. It's young Indian and African boys doing their thing. That's the generation. That's the new Guyana. When those African guys tune in and hear Takuma Gunse saying, take the guns and use it against the government, end the story. When they seen Bok said, them Indian leaders, then people got warm in their brains. You know what Heinz and Bok and them think? By them people can say, yeah. But you talk to those Indian guys, you talk to those African guys, what David Heinz say? Come on, man.
Yeah. And that message, as we have said on this program over and over, that message has fallen flat on its face, and Aubrey Norton is multi-causal, as you said, and Aubrey Norton has himself to be blamed. He should have eschewed that. He should have repudiate the message that Heinz and others are preaching, but instead, you know what Norton did? Norton embraced Heinz, and everywhere Norton spoke that I have seen, Heinz was on the ticket to speak at the rallies. It therefore means that Heinz was one of his prizes, and they didn't know they were driving a nail further and further in the coffin of the organization when they continue with that message. And I can't, for the life of me, I still can't understand that Aubrey Norton couldn't see that. Aubrey Norton couldn't see that extracting Jaretta.
We could see that man ego is bigger than this.
He couldn't
long
see,
and bigger than the Essequibo River.
He couldn't see that extracting Jaretta, Sherrod, and Ricky from the AFC and killing out the AFC will go to his detriment as well. Because while AFC people can say now that, hey, AFC is nothing, AFC ain't got more votes, Amanza got more votes than the AFC and all of that. AFC has a symbolism, and people, you need to understand the value of symbolism. While Amanza cannot amass more than one seat on herself, on her own, Amanza inside of the PNC, together with Norton, could make that one seat become 3. The AFC inside of a coalition, together with Norton, could make this 12 seat into 16. Or more. But the point here is that the message, there were multiple miscalculations along the way, and that message just can't win anybody.
But do you know Norton's destruction is likely to continue for a few weeks and months? I am wondering if inside the PNC they're not saying, look what you did. Look what you did to a historic institution. Man, leave. Leave and let us work this thing out.
In fact, if I were Norton, I wouldn't wait. I would announce my resignation now.
But I don't think they're telling him anything.
For the thing, or if not announce the resignation, say that I won't be running again at the next Congress. Let people know up front that you intend to demit office, and use this time to start rebuilding the PNC, to bring in people into your circle, people who you formerly, quote unquote, couldn't stand or couldn't work together with. Now you got to eat humble pie and bring those people in, because you've had your chance, you demonstrated and you were devastated. And to complete a point I was making earlier about making out a case to the races, it is clear that the PPP made out a case for the votes of Afro-Guyanese, and Afro-Guyanese responded.
I want to speak to that. And I think more PPP-aligned intellectuals may not agree with what I'm about to say. This old man here knows all the key players across Guyana's sociological landscape the past 50 years. And I think Jagan, Rodney, to a certain extent, Burnham in his early age. Burnham, when I mean in his early presidency, with the Demerara Harbour Bridge, the Kanji Bridge, I think there was some efforts. I am not going to take Burnham out of the multiracial equation. I think Burnham, Jagan, Rodney, and I think they had some. I think Burnham had some multiracial intentions, and he began to buckle because he found that, man, these Indian people, we can't see each other, they're coming over to me. But he never said, man, to hell with them.
Right.
Right.
And Norton seemed to be saying that.
Good. So I'm coming now to what some PPP intellectuals may not accept. I'm taking off from what you said about PPP appeal to Africans. I think the personality of Irfan Ali has emitted a certain type of aura that African Guyanese have not found in previous leaders. And they say to themselves, he is different and we can trust him. And I think that was the clincher. Now, in one of my columns, I said it. I said, that man is going to make the difference. I think Jagan, Burnham, Rodney made differences. They made differences to what came out of people's mind. They acted on people's minds, and people began to receive them in their minds. And I think Ali has joined that. I think Ali has joined that. And so you're going to have these four men who had, I can't say had, because Ali is wrong. Ali's going to join these three men who had an agenda to bring about racial thing. But they didn't succeed. Rodney Kissoon got killed. I believe Ali is going to sit down late at night in his room alone, and I think Ali is going to plan a sociological architecture that by the time we reach 2030, this ethnic divide is going to be very, very thin.
Yeah.
Almost disappearing.
When I came in, I think you were talking about the PPP got to be careful in who they think.
We got 3 minutes remaining.
Okay. The cabinet or the people who the Irfan Ali choose to put on the front line, whether cabinet or front line major position, have to reflect this new reality. Irfan Ali also he don't have to purge his inner circle necessarily of distractors, because there will be some people who might say, oh, these newcomers are making us uncomfortable. He giving these newcomers this and we ain't getting. Irfan Ali has also got to speak to those people. So it's a multi-pronged strategy. He have to be inclusive now to this new deluge of Afro-Guyanese that is coming into the PPP.
No, man, he has to show the world that
and he has to demonstrate.
This is the PPP now. The Indian thing.
He got to demonstrate that openness.
The Indian the one-dimensional ethnic thing that we were in the 60s and 70s gone. Now this is now Jones, Ali, Khan, Smith.
And he got to transmit that to the long-standing people who were waiting in line, and you got some of these newcomers who gonna go in front of them in the line. They can't see it in those terms. They got to look and see that 36 seats that the PPP is expected to get is historic in Guyana, And if this 36 by
That's a 7-seat majority, right?
yeah, this is historic in
Because
Guyana.
the opposition going to be 29.
And while people are going to say, and while Win got 16 seats, it is not Win only that is responsible for APNU getting 12 seats. The PPP orchestrated that. Right? So this is phenomenal, and the PPP has got to reflect that going forward. And the PPP is going to win elections for the next 25 years as long as they acknowledge in the visual composition of whatever economy or whatever they are going to do going forward, if this is reflected there, where the people, all of Guyana, East Indian and Africans, feel that ownership of this unity, take ownership of this unity that we're talking about, I don't think the PPP could lose another election in the next quarter century.
Well, there is all money that will increase. That you and I were on a platform similar to this with Peter Amsarup, and people keep. I think I don't want to misinterpret him, but I think he didn't play up the pricelessness of the oil revenues the way we have done the past year. But you have to that you're a leftist economist. I'm a leftist political theorist. I am quasi-Marx, semi-Marxist, semi-socialist. And basic Marxist theory is that if you don't share the wealth, you're going to get class conflict. Marx started this thing out by saying the relations of production is exploitative of the working class. And these people can rebel and overthrow the system.
That's capital.
So what Ali has to do is, Ali's grandparents and parents were leftists, were socialists, is take that all money or reshape the relations of production in Guyana. So the guy with 3 yachts, the guy with 15 cars, let him have it, let him keep it. Waterfront property, who own waterfront properties, with our economy get expanded and get rich, as John Mayer said here. But the teachers, the soldiers, the working class, those people can be elevated in a Scandinavian way where they feel satisfied with their country.
Yeah, and if you go back to the Chedi Jagan theory, Chedi Jagan continuously said a government is supposed to take care of the poor because the rich could take care of themselves. Look what's happening in Venezuela. The rich don't have to move a muscle. They don't have to run out of Venezuela. They could take care of themselves. So the country has to be shaped in a way that, as you say, if I own a riverfront property, regardless of what happened in the economy, almost, I'm not saying anything and everything, but on a normal day, these people with riverfront properties and big production assembly line and all of that will exist and will exist handsomely. So
that's none of our business.
Exactly. So a lot of resources now have to be channeled in the other direction. And once poor people get richer people will get richer.
Yeah.
So richer people don't have to worry and look to see what's in the budget for them if it's in there for poor people.
My philosophical approach to economics, which is grounded in Marxist theory, is that let the people keep their swimming pools.
Yes.
Let them keep their yachts. That is none of the politicians' business. That's the nature of the economy. But also the nature of the economy is the state is there to give working class people, middle class people, what the upper class is enjoying. The upper class could buy 4 cars, let the policeman buy a car. Let the upper class is living in a majestic house. Let the policeman live in a house with 3 bedrooms, so when his family come, right.
Yeah.
And I believe in the next 10 years, our economy is going to be so expansive that we could allow. We've gone over time. We have to do this. We haven't even looked deeply at the causes of the electoral tsunami. We will be back on Friday. There's a holiday on Friday, but there will be a show on Friday. The show must go on. We apologize for Monday. He was in Berbice. I was whole day and night doing live coverage elsewhere. So we will see you on Friday, and Leonard, Craig, and I continue this in what is known as our dialogue. So either Monday or Wednesday, we continue this because we haven't begun to touch why Azarudin got where he got, the devastation that the PNC was going through, and don't forget, Mr. 34 versus 33, Nigel Hughes. I think we will not be seeing him in politics anymore. I think the AFC, that may be gone. That may be gone. So that may be gone. I don't think there's anyone in the AFC to keep it going. But the operators have to go. On behalf of a dapper-looking late arrival, Leonard Craig, and on behalf of my hard-working operators, our hard-working operators, today's one of them birthday, but he said he doesn't want to come in front of the screen. I would love him to come in front of the screen. Today's his birthday, but the man is shy. Not shy with the camera, but shy facing the camera. Catch you later. See you on Friday. We will be here on Friday. Bye-bye. Be here on Friday. Bye-bye.